Nigeria, good morning, 042 and season greetings to everyone, and also a prosperous new year. As you know, today is the last day of the year 2025, and also each new sunrise is where we bring joyfulness, where we bring delightfulness, and bring you today's daily dose of brightness and joy. I am Deborah Wakaba, coming to you live from our studio here in Vibrant Indogo.
And good morning to you, our global audience. I'm Uche Osai. Wherever you are, getting set for the countdown to crossover. Thank you for making us part of you in 2025, and we are grateful for that. And remember, we're always here to refresh, inform, and motivate.
Yes, and of course, it's 31st of December 2025, which is the last day of the year 2025. So it's another new and wonderful edition of Sunrise. So it's a power-packed morning with the latest news, weather, business, stock updates, hot topics, and that's Sunrise Pack to help us on our day.
So relax, grab that cup of coffee or tea. Even a chin-chin will do, because the sunshine is here.
All right, now we'll be starting today's Sunrise. We'll be kicking things off with our quote of the day, something that is thoughtful to shift our perspective, for us to stay well driven or stay focused and also be motivated.
And then it's straight into the day top headlines. All the key news update that you need to remain informed will be shared hot and tasty.
Yes, all right. And after that, we'll be giving you a full weather forecast for cities across the southeast and beyond, so you know what to expect before stepping out.
We also bring weather forecasts and give you the day celebration, or the celebration to keep you smiling.
All right, now let's move over to our morning show inspiration segment that says each new year arrives as an unwritten agreement between who we are and who we are courageous enough to be. I'm going to take that quote again, saying each new year arrives as an unwritten agreement between who we are and who we are courageous enough to be. And this quote is coming from Wayne Crisser, and in his quote this simply means as the year is ending, as the year is ending, we should, or we've planned our new year resolution. Most of us have, and most of us know what we are aspiring to become next year. Most of us already know our agenda, what our purpose is going to be next year, like what we plan to do. Maybe you plan to start up your business, maybe you plan to go for that higher education next year. Now he's also saying in his quote coming from Christian Wayne, that I'm going to take that quote again, that says each new year arrives as an unwritten agreement between who we are and who we are courageous enough to be. So let us also make that arrangement, let us make that agreement, and also to plan very well for our coming year 2026. Mr. Uche, I'd like to know your thoughts on this quote.
All right, this is very timely by Wayne Crisser, reminding us that at the end of the day, today is 31st December 2025, where you see a lot of people begin to take stock of their activities in 2025 and making preparation for the new year. You see a lot of individuals making new year resolution. Some people will say, like me in that year, that I will never eat meat again going into a new year, which is very impossible. But these are the likes of the new year resolutions you see people make. Will no longer speak to Deborah in 2026. These are the kind of resolutions that people make when and I know that is impossible for Uche Osai not to speak to Deborah Wakoba in 2026.
I'd like to see that resolution.
These are the kind of resolutions people make, the impossible. You understand?
Okay.
But the basic fact is that, as when Crisser is reminding us, it's all about your decision. You understand? There's an unwritten agreement between you, where you are and where you want to be. And that takes me to that very question at this point in time, which is what I believe that when Crisser wants us to do is about asking that critical question at this very juncture in the year, because this is a crossover, is the beginning of a new page, a new chapter, right? That would, some people say it's a 365 pages of a new book that will be written. So you have an opportunity to decide what will be on each page of it. And that's why I asked that critical question at this point in time, which is every individual should ask themselves in this going into the new year, who I am. You ask yourself, who are you? Where are you? And where do you want to be? So these are the three questions that will pilot us going into 2026. Who am I? Then when you ask that question, you begin to arrive at where are you as that individual? Have you achieved all the things you set out to achieve in 2025? And if the answer is either yes or no, or you've met it halfway, one thing is that the aim itself is not a failure. You are in health. You can think critically. That's a plus. You are able to eat all the rice you can. You will make merry tomorrow because you see a new year. You will join the countdown today. So that's a plus on its own. So there's a whole lot to be grateful for. Yeah. But in all that, you now arrive at that very agreement with yourself about where you want to be. Projection. And that is what is all about this morning. And that is what Sunrise is all about. Motivating you, because we walk with you all the way. Each day, each morning, we will be there in that journey, working with you to realize that goal that you've set for yourself today.
All right, thank you very much for that. Well, you've simply said everything about your next year, which is tomorrow, starting from tomorrow. Your new year, new beginning, as people would say. It's new year, new beginning, new year, new resolution. New year, new you. Now, let's also be courageous enough to head on with our new plans, with our new agenda, and also why we're doing it.
Yes, but don't be happy. When I was giving an example, when I said not speaking to that, Uche also will not be speaking to Deborah Wakoba in 2026. So don't be happy. Don't think it was just an example that I am giving, because I will speak. You will see me in your face throughout 2026.
No problem. No problem. All right, and while you're doing so, please remember that each new sunrise is an invitation to grow, try, learn, or simply be more present in whatever we do. And let us know what this quote means to you. You can drop your thoughts on our social media platforms across Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X, all at ANEKE TV, or call our phone number 070-3043-7110. And up next is our weather report.
Yes, we'll take a look at the weather across major cities in the southeast today to enable you prepare very well for the countdown into 2026.
All right, we'll be starting off with Oka. In Oka, we're waking up to mostly cloudy skies, turning sunny later with no rain expected. So leave the umbrella at home. It'll get warmer through today, peaking around the early to mid 30 degrees Celsius, with highs, sunshine, and a strong UV vibe. So hats and sunscreen are great ideas if you're stepping out this morning.
Good morning, the Coast City. Over to Enugu. Today's forecast brings hazy sunshine from morning to evening. Gentle rays featuring trouble with plenty of bright ones. Expect the mercury to climb into the mid 30 degrees Celsius. Feeling pretty toasty by noon.
Yes, and in Abakaliki, it's another sun-filled day with hazy sunshine dominating. Temperatures are set to heat up into the mid-30s, so whether you're out doing errands or celebrating with friends, make sure you're sipping plenty of water.
And over to Imo State. Good morning, Owerri. This morning, Owerri starts partly sunny. Early skies will feature some clouds and sunshine dancing together. Think partly cloudy turning partly sunny as the day warms up to mid 30 degrees Celsius. A great day for outdoor fun or festive plans.
And lastly, in Umahia greets you with hazy sunshine early that sticks around, bringing a warm day in the low to mid 30s. The evening cools off gently on the clear skies, which is perfect for winding down your year.
So, wherever you are warming up for the countdown in Southeast today, stay safe, dress light, stay cool. But do remember, either rain or shine, we've got you covered. And this is your weather report here on Sunrise on ANEKE TV. We'll go on a short break and we'll return with more updates.
The eagle stands as a majestic symbol of strength, clarity, and vision. Its ability to soar above storms signifies resilience, while its shaped sight represents focus. This is why many nations, including Nigeria, use the eagle as an emblem of nation pride. Eagles do not fear challenges, they embrace them. They fly higher when the winds become strong, rising above obstacles rather than avoiding them. This teaches us that problems are not barriers, but stepping stones for those who dare. To live like an eagle is to stay focused, courageous, and disciplined. It is to see opportunities where others see only difficulties. The sky is not your limit, it is your launch pad.
You're still watching Sunrise on ANEKE TV. Now let's take a look at what's making the front page headlines today in The Nation, Punch, Vanguard, and The Guardian newspaper.
And joining us this morning to give in-depth analysis on the issues, especially 2025 in retrospect, is our in-house analyst, Mr. Res Arum. It's a pleasure to see you this morning.
Thank you, Osai, for having me.
Yes, there's this confidence that comes with your presence, and I'm happy to have you.
Do I exude that?
Yes, your presence exudes confidence in the people around you. Yes, but that's me speaking to sincerity and the truth. And also with us this morning is the one and only sports oracle, the Commissioner for Enjoyment, one man, many parts, Mr. Good Hope. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Sam.
All right.
Good morning. You forgot to say good morning to me.
Oh, good morning.
All right, now let's take a look at what's making the paper today. Starting from The Nation headline that says, "Why tax laws must take off fully now by Tinubu." And in the Punch headline, it says, "Alteration roll, Tinubu insists on January 1st from new tax regime." And in the Vanguard headline says, "New tax laws take effect tomorrow, Tinubu insists." And then on the Guardian paper, the major headline there says, "Over 20 million households stick to firewood, charcoal over affordability." And now on today's newspaper review, we'll be taking a look at 2025 in retrospect, what the things that has happened throughout the year 2025. As we all know, that today is the last day of the year 2025. Now, moving over to political issues, we have moving over to political and government shifts. We have the mega party formation in July 2025. Major position figures Atiku Abubakar and Peter be officially formed.
All right. Let's start with the issue on the headline this morning, is talking about the tax reforms. Then we'll get properly into the year in retrospect. You kindly take us through the Nation newspaper and the likes, then we'll descend into that conversation.
Right now on the Nation paper, the major headline there says, "Why tax laws must take off fully now by Tinubu." Today, President Bola Tinubu doubled down on his firm stance that Nigeria's newly enacted tax laws should begin full implementation without delay on January 1st, 2026. He described the reforms as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reset Nigeria's tax system, harmonize taxes across the country, and strengthen the fiscal foundation, and not merely a tool to raise taxes. He dismissed calls for postponement from critics who say discrepancies exist between the National Assembly versions and the gazetted text of the law, saying no substantial reason has been shown to halt the process.
All right, Mr. Rice, today is 31st December 2025, and the Tax Act that we speak of, we've been talking about these tax reforms, and finally, it's almost upon us. It's just the countdown has begun, and before you know it, the law takes effect from tomorrow. Despite the arguments, everyone speaking for a stoppage for now, so that there will be an in-depth analysis on the gazetted law, if as alleged that some phrase or sentences were smuggled, which were not in the original law that was passed. But above and beyond that, there's been wide debate, different schools of thought. Some argue from the pro-government axis that this new tax act is to help the poor in the society, in the sense that there will be no VAT on food, there will be no VAT on health, for instance. But at the other end of the spectrum, the generality and majority of Nigerians argue that this new tax act in itself will breed more hardship for the people. For example, we had the CEO of EPIS, Allen Onyema, speak to this new VAT that he alleged or said would crumble the airline industry if allowed to be. But Mr. President, despite this whole debate, insists that the law takes effect from 01/01/2026, and the countdown has begun. Mr. Rest, I don't know.
Thank you. You see, um, earlier this month, there has been controversies about the gazetted tax law and the one made by the National Assembly. Some people are saying that it's not exactly what was made that has been gazetted. So they have gazetted something different from what has been made. And as such, that they should look at it again and be able to find out whatever discrepancies it has been. But as Mr. President insists, he has signed that bill into law. It's now an act, and the act will take effect from a few hours from now, just a few hours from now. And a whole lot of argument still has been there. And some people are saying that, like some reports says, the Northerners don't intend to actually comply with that act. And if a law is seen to be anti-people, if people begin to protest against a law made by the legislature of a country, the law would have been seen from the perspective of being anti-people or to be obnoxious. People are not capable of actually taking such law, and they would not want that law to take effect in the country. So, with all the arguments against, though Mr. President, with all the powers he has, have said that January 1st, being a few hours from now, the tax law will take effect. And of course, they've already launched a portal where you go in and then check your identity or try to get your identity. And part of the tax law, it says the only free persons are people who are earning within 800,000 per annum. 800,000 naira, I said not $800,000 because
no, 800,000
naira. So within 800,000 down are exempted from payment of tax based on the tax law. There are other details inside. You said earlier that the tax law is supposed to favor a lot of people. Yeah, the idea about VAT, we've been taking VAT on something like alcoholic beverages. And some states in Nigeria banned even the sales of alcoholic, they destroyed alcoholic, yet they partake in the sharing of accruals from the sales of alcoholic beverages in Nigeria. So it is double standard, I've been thinking, but since now it's going to be free for consumables, like you said, if it is free, no VAT for consumables, then that'll be a good one. At least nobody will now begin to feel cheated by the other, based on the divided laws, the different laws in the north and the southern Nigeria. You have the Sharia there up in the north, and then you don't have Sharia in the south. Yet, those things are Sharia laws banned, that gets VAT, or that Nigeria gets VAT from, the states in the north partake in the sharing. And we're wondering why that has not been addressed by the National Assembly. Be it as it may, Nigeria will go into a new tax regime by 1st of January, a few hours from now.
All right. Still, just hold that thought. I want to ask, yes, like you did say, Nigeria will go into that new tax regime, and Mr. President has said yes. But you and I are aware that a committee was set up to look into these discrepancies on the gazetted law what was passed by the legislature and what was gazetted. Though the federal government has dismissed that as either the phrasing and wording, but is nothing of significance. Is it not worrisome to you that while that committee is still on their duty, trying to find out what really happened, that same law will be of effect from tomorrow?
Yes, the law has been passed. The committee, nothing very significant like the president claimed, has actually come out such that would have derailed the implementation based on the position of Mr. President. You know, they have not been able to come out to say this is why he must stop. And if the National Assembly wanted a stoppage of the implementation of that law, they would have either called, or they would have approached the court, or they would have passed a resolution. So there are ways to take care of situations like that. But they have not been able to do that. And we have the Yuletide break, and the majority of the representatives, senators, and everybody must have gone down back to their constituencies for now. So the committee will not have achieved anything within the shortest period. But if at the end of the day the committee, finds out that that tax law should not continue, they have ways to do it. Like I said, first, they could approach the court. Two, they could make a resolution of stoppage to the presidency about the law. They could call back the law for amendment and all that. There are ways to do them.
All right.
These are things that ought to be done. But for now, since nothing significant has been able to come out to stop, and since the presidency had signed and of course set a time frame for implementation, nothing stops it until when it is seen to have something otherwise.
All right, I will still come back to you with certain questions, but before I do that, let's get the thoughts of Mr. Goodhope concerning this issue.
Okay, first of all, the presidency has made it clear that on 1st of January 2026, that this thing we're going to, that there's no way we cannot have the tax laws. And from what he said, he is talking about a generational a change that will make the economy to grow or have something. I will tell you for a fact that whatever you want to start or change, especially in our country, Nigeria, you need to first of all start from anywhere. Like yesterday, we were talking about this same, let me just link it up a little about the whole thing where we're talking about, where we brought in the issue of tax for the common man too. You know that in Nigeria, the basic thing that we're having is that you and I don't pay direct tax. And from the tax laws, you will see that there are some things that is already there. Like I've seen on some people's WhatsApp, some of the tax laws, some of the, put this description in your, as you are sending money to this person, so that at the end of the day, they can take a general overview of what you did, so that your tax will be deducted, something like that. So what I am seeing here is that from what Mr. Rex has said, if it's not going to work, this is not the first time that policies and implementation has failed, or the policies and implementation have been carried out and it did not reach the list of the men in the society. This is not the first time we have seen it in Nigeria. We've had it a lot of times. But what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, like Mr. Rez has said, if it is not going to work, if it is not going to, as the president has said, they have the final issue to implement the laws and all other things. So if it's not going to work, they will retrace it back to the court and they will bring it back to the legislative.
Mr. Goodhope, this is no longer a question of if it's not going to work. It's a law that will take effect from tomorrow. And when the law takes effect, there is only one thing you can do. You can no longer stop that law. It's either you go back to the legislature, undergo the legislative process to repeal that very act or law, to bring something that will replace that, which we know is a very long process on its own. But if I may want to ask, I want to get your opinion on what you feel may be the effect of this new tax, because I heard you explaining where people have to give description to their transaction, so that perhaps you now fall, it will fall above the threshold that Mr. Rest did talk about. Those who earn 800,000 naira, are exempt from payment of such tax. You understand? So what do you think could be the ripple effect of this new tax?
Well, what I think would be the ripple effect that Nigerians, we have to, put their minds together and take up the new tax laws. One, two, is that there will be a lot of carefulness, a lot of attention to descriptions that we have when we're spending money. Now, it also encourage people to work harder, because if you're going to pay tax from the little you are earning, that means if you check how much you're going to pay, you need to work hard. You need to go the extra mile, and that would encourage the society and the economy too. But when you look at it from the negative side, you also see that the people that may have earned or may have been enjoying the money they have earned over, just like this year, there was no much tax except the value added as VATs. You will see that it will now make them to now, if they don't see what the government will do with this tax, because there are four tax laws that we jumped into action from January 1st. So if they don't see these things and see this tax of the thing working, remember we talked about other countries, how they have been using their own tax, that if a common man sees what he can use, what the government is doing with his tax, then they can give more, they can pay more. So if the people, the common man, will not see what the tax are used for, that means there will be a problem, and there may be a lot of going back and forth. And Nigerians, we are good at figuring out ways. At the end of the day, we will see what will happen.
It's all right. Mr. Rest, still on that line of questioning, that's why I want to bring in.
You see, Nigeria has been practicing the pay as you earn. The purpose of payment descriptions, whenever you are making any financial transaction, is to enable the tax remitters to know which monies are taxable. When you are talking about a loan, they know it's a loan. When you're talking about a gift, they know it's a gift, and so on and so forth. So they will know exactly your spendings, and so that they will know exactly what amount that you ought to pay as a taxpayer. That is why you have to do all these descriptions on payments you're going to make. Without it, it means everything will be lumped up, then you'll be overtaxing yourself at the end of the day.
Yes, but Mr. Arrest, before I let Deborah into this 2025 in retrospect, I would want to draw your attention to what Allen Onyema said as part of the ripple effects that we may witness as a result of this new law.
Allen is a businessman, and they have looked at some of the nitty-gritty in the tax law content, and they probably may have said that such business as airline operation, which requires a lot of investment, probably government may have taxed them more in that tax document. And that is exactly why he's crying foul, that people like him could collapse in a short while if certain things are not done well. So, but we really need to know those things, because he did not go into details as to how, it will affect the industry. He is not the only one in the industry. There are other big players in the industry who are into airline operation and other big businesses in the country. So it maybe the airline business may have been primarily affected in such a way that he started crying. But we'll find out when the tax law comes in the open, because ordinarily, the Gazette is supposed to be published openly. At least our colleagues, the journalists, and every other person, so that the people, the National Retention Agency, will be able to educate the people on the contents of the tax laws, so that everybody will know what they are facing and what they stand to gain. And beyond that, you see, these laws were made by the representative of the people. So we do believe that they must have done something in line with what their people asked them to represent them for.
All right. Very well said. There are still many concerns concerning this law that will be of effect from tomorrow, and part of them is the allegation that a certain part of the gazetted law is empowering the FIRS to be able to either sell off your property at will or move money from your account at will, even before you're given the opportunity to defend yourself. But be that as it may, we'll have time in retrospect proper, Mr. Rez, to to go into the nitty-gritties of this new gazetted tax act that will be of effect from tomorrow. Then we'll begin to take it word by word, dissect it one by one, and then we can let Nigerians really know what 2026
does something.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, the idea about empowering the FIRS to impound, sell off, and all these things, it should not be done. It's obnoxious. You see, before you do anything like that, like the EFCC, before they seize any of your things, they go to court. So a court of competent jurists must empower them to do so. You don't make such laws. Such laws don't survive in any, sane society. You don't make laws that will empower an organization to sell off property of organizations. No. You go to court. That's why you have people going to court when they fail to pay taxes the way they ought to. People, they are taken to court.
Yes.
They are prosecuted, and if convicted, then the law will take its course.
Sure. All right. Like I said, we'll have time to go into in-depth analysis. I know you have a lot, to say concerning this tax act, but let's move to Deborah.
Okay, now taking the 2025 in retrospect, now looking at political and governance shift, where the mega party formation in July 2025, major opposition figures Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi officially formed a new coalition under the African Democratic Congress (ADC) to challenge the APC in 2027. Still in the political issue, there's River State emergency. In March, President Tinubu declared a state of emergency in River State, suspending the governor and the House of Assembly for 6 months following a total collapse of governance and legislative paralysis.
Well, where do we start from? Mr. Rez, 2025 in retrospect, a lot happened politically in Nigeria, and what you have noted, like she has mentioned, the coalition into ADC, and that same coalition is still taking effect, is still unfolding, though I bet not with the speed that everyone expected with which the ADC would take off, but it's quite should I say encouraging to see that though they've not taken off with that speed, they are still throttling, but they are still at it, because we were informed that today P2B will be taking a firm stand with the ADC here in Enugu today. So it means that yes, they are still on it, though I bet the fact that they are not accelerating as is, but everybody expected there will be comments, because if you listen to even Engineer Baribe, the senator from Abia State the other day, he said there will be a lot of things that will happen that will shake and change the polity going into 2027 election, to which a lot of analysts are predicting today that with the movement of P2B to categorically state that he's been in this coalition and he's totally declaring for the ADC, that there's a likelihood that an agreement has been reached for Atiku to support the candidacy of Mr. P2B as a presidential candidate in ADC. These are speculations. Then that's still on the ADC. I know there's a lot to say before we get into the other aspects where Deborah is taking us to in Rivers State, the state of emergency that was declared. But let's bury the ADC issue first.
The coalition of a bigger opposition, because after or during the 2023 elections, the APC kind of politically decimated the PDP. And since then, the present period, of course, there are elections coming up in about 2 states, where, Federal Capital and the other state, the PDP do not have candidates as a result of the imbroglio in the party. So, the ADC coming on board with its national chairman, the former Senate president of the
David Mark,
David Mark. It is truly a big party. Atiku Abubakar has been there. He earlier declared fully for ADC. And today, PDP is also going to declare. And you see, in principle, rotation has been between the North and the South. And then the North and the South have been sharing in 2 terms each. And there is no way that Atiku would, of course, come to run for presidency when it is the turn of the South in principle. So it is only from the South that somebody could come and will be justified to run for presidency. That is, if such party and such persons, of course the parties are supposed to field candidates from the South. Now, we have, so only the ADC is now being seen as a very strong opposition. But it is not without her own problems, because the ruling party tends to indirectly try to, minimize the farages of the opposition and push them back, give them problems. There are oppositions built into many of the political parties so as to make them unstable, just the way the PDP has remained. So,
all right. I know you still have a lot to say, but still on that, does it worry you that at this point in time that there seems to be no hope for the Labour Party? And I want to equally, as an addendum to that, is it concerning that people are watching out to see the likes of people, P2B will be moving into the ADC proper with, being that the governor of Abia State, for instance, has declared that he will remain in Labour Party, that he is not moving away from the Labour Party. So where are the big ways that P2B will be moving into ADC with proper?
No, you see, when you talk about who are big ways, the obedience, if you remember the 2023 election, P2B barely had time to do all the nitty-gritty in terms of campaigning, especially in the North. If P2B had gotten votes from the North, there would not have been any way the APC would have won that election. No matter the way it is done, no matter the said rigging or whatever, there's no way it could have happened. But today, he has penetrated the northern part of this country, which is made up of 3 zones: the northwest, the northeast, and of course the north central. So, and if, like the Northerners, many of them are viewing the Tinubu administration, the APC administration, with some kind of skepticism, they don't seem to understand, they don't seem to like. Of course, some analysts and pundits have said that Tinubu will not be supported by the North. But when the chiefs are down, we will know what it's going to be like. So, P2B now, as it is, may come as the presidential candidate, and he will come with the obedience. if vote is not coming, there may be other, there may be other persons. OT was there, and of course he started working hard to show he's a political bigwig. And there will be many others. People like Abaribe could still be part of it at the end of the day. Who knows? But so many bigwigs. The national chairman of the party was a former Senate president. So there are bigwigs in NTC, and he's coming in, and all these people are going to support him. So, and if it so happens, then the election.
All right. I know you're still on the issue of P2B, but does it? The of more cognizance is the fact that the declaration is in Enugu instead of Anambra, where he is ought to go and pick or register at his ward as a full member of ADC. But what's the significance of this declaration happening in Enugu today?
Enugu ADC is a zonal headquarters of ADC in the southeast. And since he's doing that in the southeast, he intends to do it at the zonal headquarters of the party. So that is why it becomes central. And then there's going to be many members of the party from different places in Nigeria who could come to support his declaration. So, and Enugu becomes central in terms of hosting them. Enugu becomes good enough, and of course the security situation in Enugu is also, it's also good enough to host such an outing. It's not going to be easy, remember. So he knows best why he chose Enugu. I am not P2B, remember. And
yes, we're just analyzing the situation.
Yes, that could warrant his choice of Enugu.
All right. The other spectrum politically in 2025 was the state of emergency that was declared in Rivers State, where Fubara was, asked to go and rest for 6 months, given all the all the happenings with his godfather Wike. A lot of press conferences have been called on the issue. The nation at that point that waited for the judiciary to speak. A lot of people have accused the judiciary of going dumb on the nation and then reclaiming their voice at a point where it became only academics. That was part of the happenings in 2025, one of the major landmark political events in 2025.
Yes, by the provision of the Constitution, the President can declare a state of emergency. But there is no constitutional provision for the suspension of an elected member of the legislature or executive, an elected executive. There's no such provision. So I do not know exactly how the President muzzled to remove Fubara and the members of the House of Assembly, and they complied. And of course, it was opposed, but opposed in the court, and the court couldn't come out with speed up that decision, because if the court had, it would have been a different thing. And of course, even the Supreme Court ruling, which has been interpreted and misinterpreted. Some people misinterpreted it to mean that the President has powers to remove. No, the President has no power to remove, but the President had the power to declare emergency. And of course, the other aspect of it was that people argued that the National Assembly, or the Senate particularly, during the passing of that motion, did a voice vote instead of actual voting. So that became controversial. They said that the National Assembly seems to have been tied to the, whims and caprices of the APC ruling government. That's exactly why they hurriedly passed it with a voice vote. Ordinarily, they would have waited to do a normal voting to know that whether the actual number of the people in the Senate would have concurred for the state of emergency.
Okay.
All right, but is it worrying you that we were thinking that with the state of emergency that the peace that is restored, having seen Fubra and Wike at the return to democracy, because a lot of people argue that democracy was suspended in Rivers State. At the return of democracy, we saw them together. We felt that indeed the peace has been restored. I bet the fact that recently we've seen Fubra at the camp to APC, well, and we've seen Wike call another press conference to say that that doesn't give him a leeway as the candidate of APC come 2027.
Yes, initially they had made an agreement to enable Fubara to come back, and one of such agreement made was that he will not run for the second tenure. So, but as things are, Fubara now went into or cross-carpeted to the APC, making him the leader of the party in Rivers State. So as the leader of the party, he calls the shot, because we find out that members of the executive, especially presidency, governors, and of course the local government chairman, are all leaders of the party at those tiers of government. So as Fubara being leader, of course up till now Wike is still in PDP. So Fubara in APC in Rivers State.
Sorry, which of the PDP?
Wike, of course, a faction of the PDP. He said he's still in PDP.
A faction of the PDP?
Yes, because we have another faction that had already asked dismissed Wike from the party for anti-party activities. That is the Turaki-led PDP. So, but Wike says he's still in PDP, and whichever way, whether the first faction or second faction, Wike is still in PDP, and therefore cannot determine what happens in APC in Rivers State for now. So, you see, when the time comes, we shall know how it plays out. But when you're talking about peace, it was just stupid to conquer, and it was a fragile peace.
All right. I bet you've spoken to the happenings in PDP, which is equally part of the political developments in 2025, where we've seen a fragmented PDP, where the likes of Wike has been suspended from the party, which many people thought will never happen. But we are witnessing that today. And the PDP, though fragmented, is in court. We are waiting for ANEKE and the court to tell us which of the PDP to look up onto, or if we are going to have a new PDP like the days of Saraki towards a 2015 election. Over to Deborah.
All right, thank you very much for that. Now we'll be taking a look at economic reforms and tax revolution. Now, the Tax Reform Act 2025, President Tinubu signed a landmark Tax Reform Act in June, and also still on tax reforms, where it says GDP rebasing. Nigeria rebased its GDP to 2019, which officially elevated the national output to 372.8 trillion naira, making the debt to GDP ratio appear more favorable despite persistent fiscal pressures.
All right, Mr. Goodhope.
Okay, basically we are looking at what is happening in the world of politics, and we are switching it over to looking at the tax laws that have been signed and is going to come up from January 1st. I will tell you for a fact that it does not really, from the landmark laws to, we saw that starting from July this year. I'm already saying last year because we're almost going off the 2025 rather. But we are seeing a lot of changes, especially in the area of tax and what we have standardized. So I can tell you that the federal government is putting all their efforts to standardize the economy and to ensure that there is no no issue relating to tax that has not been reformed or that has not been issued from 2026. And you know that when, like I said before, when these things are carried into play, what happens at the end of the day is that you are meant to, you are now going to be having a lot of other reforms. Like there will be amendments here and there will be issues to tackle here and there, and there will be the court issuance. All those things are going to, it's better that we already have a law that is already moving, something that we have already even, that has been already introduced into the system, so that at the end of the day we can have other reforms come out from it. And that's what I expect.
All right, Mr. Ress, we are talking the economy this time around. About the fact that yes, we didn't x-ray all that happened politically in the nation, but looking at the economy, do we say that the economy has fared better in 2025 than it is ought to have, compared to the previous year since the removal of oil subsidy? And I want you to bear in mind the impasse between Dangote refinery and petroleum importers and marketers in Nigeria, and to which a lot of people have argued that in itself is a very good one, being that the price of petroleum products has been, impacted positively in terms of reduction in prices, and they want more fights like that, and to encourage more independent refineries to come on stream as well. Let's look at the economy from your own perspective as well.
When you talk about Nigeria economy, Nigeria is a very peculiar country economically. Very peculiar economically. The economy of Nigeria has been very fragile for a very long time. The currency has been fluctuating against the dollar, up and down. So it has not been very stable. And beyond that, some multinationals, some companies, investments, we have not seen influx of investment as a result of the situation in Nigeria. Security tends to affect the economy greatly. Security has affected the economy, and we have moved away from the regime, the subsidy regime. And we thought that by the removal of fuel subsidy, there could be many things to be set on board, because the claims was that subsidy has been taking most of the money. And now we're expecting that we're getting all that money, we'll be able to save, we'll be able to develop, we're able to tackle infrastructure. We have very huge infrastructural deficit in Nigeria. If you come to housing, you come to roads, you come to electricity. Electricity has been comatose. And in fact, I do not know if there are things that will be done, that will make the electricity generation in Nigeria to come up to the extent that we'll say Nigeria has optimum productivity in terms of production. People who are in production are crying because of lack of energy. Energy. We need an energy revolution in this country so that the economy will be boosted. You can't have a boosting of economy without energy. Without electricity, no company performs to optimal productivity. And beyond the optimal productivity performance, you see products coming out not being at competitive prices. That is to say, the products manufactured in Nigeria are high in prices that it becomes unaffordable. And the importers will just move over to the Asian countries and import these products into Nigeria. And when they do, they become affordable. That is a situation where an economy is not stable. And the cost of production becomes high for those who are producing. And when the cost of production is high, the producers do not break even, and sometimes such production firms are forced to close shop, more so with high taxation. So there are a lot of things that government should do to ensure that they boost the economy by actually giving a tax, be fair to producers on taxation, so as to be able to help them grow to such a level that could, give them the required stability to produce. So the economy of Nigeria has been 2 legs forward, 5 legs backward.
2 legs forward,
5 legs backward in 2025. The only place where we can say kudos is the deregulation of the downstream sector, and of course the licensing of private refineries, which has seen just one private refinery on board, and the effect of that just one on board has been significant. And we have 40 licenses, and we just have one. It's only Bua that is coming for the second phase. Second one. And if they come up with another, the competition will be fine, fair, and good. I had expected that the federal government will have to privatize or possibly sell out transparently anyway the refineries we have, so that they will all come on board and face even competition. And such competition will now allow the economic policies, economic principles to prevail, market forces to prevail, so that you will now see actual market forces coming to tell the prices of, especially PMS. Nigerians don't use kerosene again because it is far expensive, more expensive than anything in the downstream sector, the petroleum product. They don't use kerosene again. Of course, I saw in the newspapers that many Nigerians are now taking to charcoal, sawdust, and sources of energy present. So the economy will be better if the government will implement to the letter most of its economic policies, because policies are there, but implementation has been very, very down.
All right, now let's take a look at ANEKE leadership, which is a major transition, where a major transition occurred in November as Mahmoud Yakubu's tenure as ANEKE chairman ended, sparking intense debate over the neutrality of his successor ahead of the next election cycle.
All right, these are part of the political developments again in 2025, where, like the tax reform, there were arguments back and forth, and you do know quite well that a lot of opinions, a lot of scholarly opinions are of the view that the Mr. President shouldn't be the one to appoint ANEKE chairman. The argument had been there predicting this administration. Be that as it may, we saw a new umpire announced or appointed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and a lot of people have been, trying to compare notes and argue, are we going to see a new ANEKE, being that there's a change in head? Why many argue that it's still the same old ANEKE, the same structure. What has happened is that one has retired, an individual whom we are told is apolitical has been appointed into that very position. Many say he's been a successful lawyer, he's been a successful administrator. But Mr. Rez, this is Nigeria heading towards 2027 general election, drawing from the Anambra election and other off-cycle election that has happened since that appointment. Do you, like many other Nigerians, have apprehension going forward about the fact that, yes, there's a new leadership in place in INEC?
Even before the recent election in Anambra, the ANEK chairman, the new ANEK chairman, has barely resumed office before the election. So the masses should not expect magic, expect any form of reforms. But you see, what is encouraging is the fact that he came in shortly and started talking tough, that he will bring a new vista into the goings on in INEC. But the fact that there's been discussions front and back, you know, the clamor for a reform in terms of who appoints an INEC chairman, it tends to show that the way the appointment is being made is not such that will give INEC the required independence. It is said Independent National Electoral Commission. The word independent means that they ought to have come through an independent procedure. That is exactly what it ought to have been. But it is not so. And people are still talking that it should be. But I have not seen one or many prefer that solution or how INEC appointment should be done. I have not seen any of the representatives in the legislature to pick up such and possibly sponsor a bill on the amendment of the Constitution on the appointment of the head of INEC. You see, so how do we start? Where people have not tried to, push. You see, the concept of inertia says that a force continues in its state of uniform movement until an action comes on it, which means that INEC will continue to go by that way, the appointment will continue to go by that way, until somebody begins to now say something has to be done. And nobody has done that. No member of the Senate, no member of the House of Reps, or not even the Senate on the whole, not even the House Assembly in the federative unit have been able to come up with any sort of, because it has to be a whole change in the provisions of the appointment of INEC as prescribed by the Constitution of the 1999 as amended. So, if it's not done so, then INEC will always, the INEC leadership will always be tied to the apron strings of the appointer or the person who appoints. Because I wonder, especially when such person is running for election, or the person, even if the person is running election, the person may have given a blessing to a candidate. And of course, the INEC chair will always have. But the INEC chairman said that results will be uploaded to the IREF from the electoral polling units. And if it so happens, of course,
you seem excited with that pronouncement.
Yes, it tends to now reduce the level of claims and counterclaims of rigging.
Right. That's quite all.
Okay, now let's move over to security and international intervention. Now, the U.S. strikes in Nigeria in a historic move on Christmas Day 2025. The U.S. military, under President Donald Trump, launched cruise missile strikes in Sokoto and Kwara State, targeting the Lakurawa group and alleged ISIS affiliates. The U.S. cited the protection of Christians as a primary motivator though the strike sparks concerns over national sovereignty. And now also be taking a look at mass abduction that took place in 2025, that despite a state of emergency on security, the northwest and north central regions suffered from mass kidnappings, including the abduction of hundreds of school children in Kaduna and Sokoto. And still in 2025, we have the case of Nnamdi Kanu, that this disquiet persisted in the southeast following a reported life sentence for IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, leading to continued sit-at-home protests in some areas.
All right. Let's look at the security situation in Nigeria. First, starting the year, we've been, before this administration, before 2025, we've been battling insecurity, abduction, kidnapping. We've had different nomenclatures. We have Lacroix joining the lexicon about ISIS, Boko Haram, kidnappings and all terrorist activities, culminating towards the tail end of this year, where Nigeria was designated as a country of particular concern by the United States, giving the pronouncement by President Donald Trump that Nigeria has been killing Christians, declaring genocide have taken place in Nigeria. And to that, we've seen matters of kidnap escalating since that pronouncement, upon which Mr. President on several occasions cancelled his foreign trips and engagement to spearhead the return of the kidnapped victims. And indeed, we've seen the return of the kidnapped children from Marga, KB, and the rest of them, through non-kinetic approach, we were told. Other approach, that whatever engagement the government had with the bandits, the kidnappers, we were not told. But what is certain is that there was no kinetic approach to resolving the impasse. However, recently, moving from that, we've seen the United States of America, like they did promise, this time around not putting boots on ground, but sending Tomahawk missile into Sokoto. And we've seen even the Nigerian Air Force follow up the action by going to Zamfara again to bomb the hideouts of these insurgents. And a lot of these insurgents are being either captured while some are scampering to safety. We've seen reports from around Sokoto saying that they saw a lot of these bandits, running with their their motorcycles, moving away from the maxing that we were told by the United States government that we have seen to a lot of attack in Nigeria during the Christmas period, during this Yuletide. But be that as it may, one thing that is certain is that yes, Nigeria, security-wise, is a troubled nation. Mr. Ares, I don't know if you have heard different opinion from this.
Who holds a different opinion about Nigeria's security? Even Gumi himself, even when he's opposed to the way the security situation is being handled, he still, believes there is a security problem. So even when Gumi believes it, it means that every other common person believes Nigeria is deeply troubled.
Okay.
Deeply troubled in the sense that almost all parts of Nigeria, we have skirmishes. Even the places you say they are the most safe places, you still have skirmishes of a security problem. Now, if you look at the situation in the northwest, it started from the northeast, the Boko Haram. And of course, we know the origin of Boko Haram and the approach that the security people using kinetic means to, and Yusuf was killed. Of course, immediately Yusuf was killed, they became super tigers. They became full-fledged and then began to unleash mayhem. Initially, it was a detonation of improvised bombs at various places. Today, they come in with arms and ammunition to face even the military. That is the way it is. And it is no longer just Boko Haram. We have the ISWAP. We have, of course, ISIS, which is part of ISIL, that are coming from the Sahel region into Nigeria. And of course, the recent bombing in collaboration with the U.S. government, on recent bombing in collaboration with Nigeria, in partnership with Nigeria, was done in Sokoto, and they have been there for quite a while. And analysts said that even the Sultan knew that there were aliens who are grouping at that particular border area. But he couldn't have feigned ignorance of any sort. But that he did not do anything. Well, who knows if he was doing, but not letting out. So that, because security tends to involve a high level of secrecy. So nobody knows if he was or he was not. But all we know is that the situation in Northwest has begun to show that it's more dangerous than the situation in the Northeast. You see, because the Lakurawas and that ISIS group began some high level of banditry and kidnapping. High level. You know, after the Chibok girls and the other one, the kidnapping, you know, was not as pronounced as the one that began in 2025, just this year that is winding up. So, and when the claim of genocide was done and America supported it, you know, bought into it, and declared Nigeria as a country of particular concern, the banditry became they became wild. They were going to places, taking school girls, school children, and all that in Nigeria, everywhere. And it became so bad. In Kogi State, there is no place in Kogi, you can't move in Kogi State again. Anywhere you move within an inch, kidnappers will just come and take some people hostage and all that. So the security situation has been bad. But with the American intervention, within the past few days, in partnership with Nigerian government, they have shown signs of restoring Nigerian security situation. And our expectation is that in 2026, they will redouble efforts to stem the tide and nip insecurity in the bud so that the economy will flourish, so that investors will not be afraid to come and make investments that will create the desired job opportunities for the Nigerian populace. The graduates are so numerous. I mean, the universities are churning out graduates, but there are no jobs. And of course, even the idea of graduating people that could be employable is an issue on which, of course, the National University Commission are taking care of educationally. So, I expect a better Nigeria in 2026.
All right. Be that as it may, while a lot of individuals has come up to argue about the sovereignty of Nigeria with the intervention of the United States government, one thing, like you've mentioned, is certain is that Nigeria will be sovereign over insurgency, over banditry, given the collaboration with the United States government. And with that, we'll be able to recover our economy. People will be able to go back to farm, and the price of stable goods will be scaling down in the market. And going into 2026, we expect a better outlook security-wise in Nigeria. And thank you very much, Mr. Rice, for those in-depth analysis. And for want of time, let's move straight into the stock market update for yesterday, 26 December. The Nigerian Stock Market Exchange closed on a positive note yesterday. The Asia Index ASI rising by 0.42% to settle at 155,034.72 points. This bullish momentum added approximately 411 billion to the market capitalization, bringing the total value of the exchange to 98.84 trillion naira. Market activity saw a significant spike, with trading volumes soaring by over 200% compared to the previous session. The top 5 gainers as of yesterday, where the market sentiment was largely positive, with for 6 equities appreciating in value. Then they were led by Julius Berger Nigeria PLC, which closed its book yesterday at 152 naira 90 kobo, making a plus 10% positive adjustment. They are followed by Honeywell Flour Mill, which closed its book yesterday at 21 naira 45 kobo, making a plus 10% adjustment as well. We have Guinea Insurance PLC yesterday closing its books at 1 naira 32 kobo, equally making a plus 10% positive adjustment, followed by Austin Lars and Company, which closed its trading yesterday at 3 naira 87 kobo, making a plus 9.94% positive adjustment. And finally, on the list of top 5 performers is Multiverse Mining, which closed yesterday at 13 naira 35 kobo, making a plus 9.88% positive adjustment. Despite the overall bullish trend, 24 stocks recorded price decline. The following companies were the top 5 on the list of losers yesterday. We have Union Dye Consult closing trading yesterday at 6 naira 30 kobo, making a minus 10% negative adjustment, followed by Living Trust Mortgage Bank, which closed its trading yesterday at 3 naira 42 kobo, making a minus 10 positive adjustment. They are followed by First Hold Company, which closed its book yesterday at 44 naira 40 kobo, making a minus 9.94 negative adjustment. We have Veritas Capital Assurance, which closed trading yesterday at 1 naira 61 kobo at minus 7.47 negative adjustment. And then finally on this list is Mutual Benefit Assurance, which closed its book yesterday at 3 naira 10 kobo, making a minus 7.46 positive and negative adjustment. And then the total volume of stocks traded yesterday was approximately 4.7 billion shares were traded. And then we have Cornerstone Insurance dominating the chart, responsible for roughly 3.7 billion of the total shares that were traded. The market continues to show strong resilience, with a YTD that's year to date return of approximately 50.63% change. And as we speak, we know that the market is already open, for the last trading of the year 2025. But please, before you make any investment, do consult a financial expert due to the volatility of the market. Thank you, Deborah.
All right, thank you very much for that. Well, it's a wrap on today's edition of Sunrise on ANEKE TV. It's always a pleasure having you here. And please don't forget to tag or follow us across our social media handles across Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all at ANEKE TV, or call our phone number 070-3043-7110. I am Deborah Wakba.
And thank you, Mr. Ores, for those in-depth analysis, especially with the retrospect on 2025 events.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, viewer, for listening and watching us dissect the issues of 2025. And I wish you a happy new year, in the next few hours.
And Mr. Goodhope, thank you for always being with us.
Thank you very much.
All right. And Uche Osai, remember, you're not here to be average. Be unique as we step into the new year. The countdown is here. So be bold. Keep watching ANEKE TV to come your way same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.